Thank you, Klaudia, for finding some time to interview me. I'm really happy to share my knowledge. I am a trainer, I am a coach, I am a team coach, I'm author of this book. It's in Dutch, Happiness at Work, and it contains 25 skills for happiness and the Feel-Fly-Flourish-model. And it helps people, teams, and companies to integrate happiness in their work life, also in their personal life, but I focused on the work in the first place. My company is called KT Dynamics, and I have a Dutch website about training happiness skills. And I also give workshops abroad about skills for happiness. So I'm really happy to share with you the knowledge I have about happiness at work and my personal experience in that.
That sounds great. Thank you very much, Veronique. So why did you get interested in happiness at work concept or topic in the first place? Why did you find it so interesting?
Well, there were a couple of reasons. One, it is a very actual topic, and it's a topic of the future.
Definitely.
Yeah, the positive psychology is very focused on it now. There have been several scientists started to focus on happiness and happiness at work.
Yeah.
And also for my own happiness at work, I started to know that sometimes I worked and I felt alone doing all this work. And when I felt this loneliness, I thought it must be different. It could be different.
Yeah.
And I want to find out how this can be different. I want to have more happiness in my work. And I must say it worked, because I have really so much more joy, so much more nice jobs, talks, like this talk with you. I also enjoy very much. So it does also contribute to my happiness.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. I'm very happy that you were willing to share your thoughts. So how do you yourself define happiness? Because it can be many different things for many people, right?
That is right, yes. Well, what I found out, there are several things. The first thing is that happiness is a feeling. You can have all the material in the world that you wish for, a big car, a big house, a lot of money. It doesn't mean that you feel happy. So happiness is a feeling in the first place. And the brain is focusing on the negative very easily, because we have two places in the brain, the amygdala and the survival brain. They focus on what is making us unhappy, on the negative. And because of that, we want to support our awareness and focus it on the happy things.
Yeah.
I noticed you're in a library, so there are a lot of children being very happy in the background.
Yes, they must be very happy. It's a weekend and they get to play. So I'm sorry if there's any noise here. I hope everyone can clearly hear what we're talking about. So are there any models describing the happiness at work concept? Or you also mentioned that you have come up with a model yourself. So would you be willing to share the theory behind it?
Yes,
or the model itself?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So there were two scientists who really inspired me, and those scientists taught me that happiness is a feeling.
Yeah.
And that if you manage to create more happiness feelings, you can create a happiness mood. So you can be in a happiness state of being. Because life is not only about being happy, life is also about dealing with setbacks. And it's important to have the skills and to create the skills to get more confidence, to deal with what life is offering you. There are a lot of choices, there are a lot of things that you have to manage. And instead of focusing on a negative, what is the brain doing a lot of times, you want to bring the happy things in your awareness. And that is one of the things why you can train yourself and you can change the what is called neuroplasticity. You can
Yeah.
change the neurological path in your brain. So instead of thinking about the negative a lot of time, you can create more awareness about the positive. For example, if there is at the end of the day 10 things, and 5 things are positive, and 4 are neutral, and 1 is negative, what will you think more about at the end of the day?
Oh, that is so sad, but it's the negative thing.
It's the negative, yeah, because
Yeah.
The brain and your awareness is focusing more energy and attention on this
Yeah.
negative.
It's like your
Even
own enemy in your head.
it's almost like the own enemy. Well,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it enemy. I would call it like a trigger.
Yeah.
So
That sounds
it's
better.
also, yeah, it sounds better because
Yeah.
apparently it needs something. It needs a choice. It needs
Yeah.
whether you deal with it, whether you want to neglect it, whether you want to transform it or want to accept it.
Yeah.
There are different choices how to deal with that negative.
Yeah.
And this negativity also creates stress in the body. So
Yeah.
even a small negative thought can already cause some series of stress hormones.
Yeah.
And when people are in stress, they go into survival mode most of the times. And the survival mode we know as freeze, fight, and flight. You know those 3, right?
Yeah.
Those 3
Yes.
F's. So as opposite to this freeze, fight, and flight, I defined the feel-fly-flourish. The feel means that you are able to bring some happiness feelings in yourself, your awareness. The
Yeah.
fly means that you can hold on to this state of being of happiness even in the midst of setbacks. And
Yeah.
flourish means that if you are able to create this positive energy in yourself, then you will attract more positivity and you will attract more abundance. Then you are going to flourish. That's why it's called Feel-Fly-Flourish.
Oh, I love that name. And
Mm.
I really much believe in, energy of attraction. If you're focusing on positive and you're trying to be happy and positive and focus on the positive energy, then the world will give back to you.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
oh, amazing! That's amazing. So why do you think it is important for people to be happy at work? Why does it matter? Because when we think about, many years back in the past, no one was really talking about it. It was not important. People would just go to work for, for the sake of finances, just to provide for the family, and that was it. So why is it so important nowadays? Well, what do you think?
Well, what I think is that nowadays people are much more aware of self-development and personal growth.
True.
And
Yes.
happiness is a very good fundament for personal growth. Because happiness is also about learning new things and challenging yourself, getting out of the comfort zone, but not in such a way that you get stressed, but in a way that you are excited about learning new things.
Yeah.
And because people have so much need for personal growth, for autonomy, for being a master and being skilled and building more confidence and enjoying success. I think that's one of the reasons why people are more interested in happiness, because the scientific research showed that colleagues that are more happy, they perform better, they are less sick, they can cooperate better, they have more confidence. So there are so many benefits. Why shouldn't you be happy?
Yeah. So if there are so many benefits and advantages, do you think companies started doing something about it? Like what can a company or a firm do to get more happy employees or to make their employees more happy? What could be ideas? What the ideas?
Well, I I have to laugh a bit because I hear all these screaming children in the background. But I'm
Oh,
happy that told me that it's very common in Denmark that children
Yes.
are very expressive. State it like that. Okay.
Yes, in Denmark, it's all about expressing yourself and not being pressed by society or people you're surrounded with. So that's the reason why you hear the children, and I'm sorry about it.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question was.
About the companies, what can a company do? Because there are so many benefits for the employees to be happy.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when you're a manager, it's important to train your own happiness, which means that it's important that you are aware about what makes you happy, what can you do yourself to get yourself in a state of being of happiness. A lot of workload and pressure is a lot of time present for managers. So it's important how to deal with that. It's easy maybe to get distracted or to get your job done in the way that you want it.
Yeah.
Therefore, the skills of happiness that I describe, they have 3 levels. The first level is about training your own skills for happiness, which means that you know how to do it yourself. The second level is how to enlarge this with a group, which means with your colleagues, with your team. And the third level is how to do it in a company, in an organization, in a bigger group. So if you have learned your own happiness skills, it's more easy to share it with your colleagues, because you cannot force happiness on somebody else. No. You cannot demand that from now on you will be happy.
No.
So it's important to know how you can share it and how to give space for feelings that are negative, like irritation or frustration or tiredness. It needs to have a place too. And also, if you give way to it in a way that you can transform it, then you can get the energy out of it. Because it will give you energy if you can transform negativity. Otherwise, it will just drag you down.
So now that you... Oh, sorry. Just please continue.
Yeah. So, and a manager can only enlarge this happiness if you can train your own happiness skills. Because otherwise, it's fake. You see, it's just only on paper. Because happiness is something you feel, and it's alive. It cannot be only on the paper or on the internet.
Yeah.
And then there are things that you can do as a company. And most of the things that companies do, they are in rituals. For example, celebrating successes as a ritual. Or having happiness conversations in appraisal or performance reviews. So if you really start to integrate in the company corners of happiness where you can have good food, where you can meet, where you can have a pleasant atmosphere to work in as a team and as an office, it really supports.
So now that you've mentioned a little bit about, the survival mode of the brain and the negativity that the brain is always trying to go back to, can someone actually be too happy? Is there a risk of being maybe too happy at work? Does it have any influence on the job itself?
Well, it's a funny question, the being too happy, because I'm really I'm curious about people who are too happy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anybody who has a life without having to deal with what we are doing now. I mean, even if you are too happy, we are still dealing with a plastic soup on this planet. We are still dealing with a climate crisis. We are still dealing with a lot of pollution. So if that person is really too happy, then I would say, well, let's get to work then.
Yeah, I also haven't met anyone who's too happy.
Yeah. The
No.
only thing that I can imagine is that somebody is just blocking all the negativity. So
Yeah.
he or she is not aware of
Mm.
anything that could or would be negative. And that I would consider something that is difficult to deal with, because if you are not able to recognize any unhappiness or anything negative, then you do not know how to handle, because life is about contrast. There are things that you do not like, which is a trigger for you to know what you do like.
Yeah. So it's maybe the person just suppressing or trying to hide the negativity, right?
It
Is
is
that?
possible. It is,
Yeah.
for example, recently I had somebody in a coaching session, and
Mm-hmm.
this person is very much about everything that is logical and reasonable, and things that you can think about and new ideas. He's not so much about feeling. He's not so much
Yeah.
about relating to people, but he
No.
dearly loved his dogs. And he had a very, very intense relationship with his dogs. And
Mm.
he had 3 dogs, and 2 of them died a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And when he talked about it, then he suddenly started to cry, and he did not expect it at all, because he had suppressed this in his
Yeah.
life. But if you
Yeah.
suppress this, what is there, then you cannot deal with it, you cannot transform it, it has no place. And it belongs to you as a human being to have feelings.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have been robots, right?
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. So, Veronique, it's amazing tips that you're sharing here. I think it's very useful information that I'm getting from you. I have one last question. Um, Actually, 2 last questions. Okay. The first one would be, what can an employee herself or himself do in order to feel a little bit more happy at work? Yeah. Let's start with this question
Yeah.
first.
Well, I have a whole training of 3 days about this. So
Yes.
you can learn how to deal with that. Excuse me. One of the things that is important is that you know what are your happiness makers. So write down a list of things that make you happy.
Yeah.
And for some people, it can be silence. For
Yeah.
others, it can be having good conversations with colleagues.
Yeah.
For somebody else, it can be going outside a lot, having a lot of interactions. Um, and a lot of times, it's also about fulfilling needs. You have freedom, autonomy, the need for self-development, the
Yeah.
need for learning. So it's important to be aware of your needs too, and then
Mm.
to take a good strategy for this need. For
Yeah.
example, if you have not a healthy strategy, it could be that if you feel any irritation, you start to eat.
Yeah.
And eating healthy food is okay, and even eating once in a while not had healthy food, like well, we all know things that
Yeah.
we very much like, but we know it's
Yeah.
sometimes better not to do it, but still we are inclined to have all these things.
Yeah.
But if you're structural, for example, denying this frustration and trying to suppress it by food, then it's not a really healthy strategy. So
No.
uh, creating strategies and learning strategies that support your happiness in the long term is very good. It's very, and there are several ways that you can learn that. And another thing is, a lot of people are tired,
Mm.
not only in body, sometimes also in mind.
Yeah.
And therefore, to be vital, in good condition, in body and mind, is very important for your work.
Yeah.
So, what do you have to do to keep yourself in a good condition. And it can be you walk outside during the lunch. For me, it also means sporting, if it's possible, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Um, and, and creating a lot of my flow. One of the things that I discovered when it's creating flow is, for example, learning new things, or writing a blog, or my interview with you is also a flow maker for me.
Yeah.
So it's important to know what brings you in flow, and then have a couple of these flow makers in your day or in your week.
Yeah. I'm very happy that you mentioned health and fitness, because it's maybe something I should have mentioned at the beginning. Apart from me studying HR management, I am what is it called in English?
Self-employed?
Self-employed, yes, as a fitness coach. So I see the strict correlation between, people being happy and being healthy, or not training and being totally exhausted and lacking energy. So I'm very happy you're mentioning this. So one last question, as I said, I had 2 last questions. From the HR point of view, what can an HR do when it comes to the managers and the employees to, increase the happiness level, or increase the happiness at work amongst the employees?
Well, I'm really happy with your question, because one of my clients is Konica Minolta, and the HR manager, she decided to have 5 of the happiness skills that is written in this book integrated in the company. And we're going to give a training to all the managers how to have conversations about happiness with our colleagues and employees. And so they choose 5 skills, 5 competences to get your happiness level in a good shape. And HR can integrate that because they're going to give a training. Another thing that HR can do is support the communication about the company, mentioning that happiness at work is a value, that happiness at work is important, and that you want also to work with those people who are very much believing that happiness is a value at work too. So if you do not believe in happiness at work, then you might want to go for another company or another job. If you believe in happiness at work, you will also attract those people who also want this happiness at work.
So
and integrating happiness at work in reviews between managers and employees, or happiness skills in reviews with colleagues. It's very helpful if you know how to deal with it, if you know how to talk about it, if you really choose for happiness. Because what I also discovered is if you are not aligned with your personal mission, it's really difficult to be happy at work. And alignment is one of the 25 competences. And it means that you have a clear insight in your strengths, in your weaknesses, in your talents, so that you do the things that really are in line with what your purpose is. If you are on track with your purpose, then you can deal with setbacks more easily. You are really getting a lot of energy out your work. Your feeling of happiness will give you the feedback.
Excuse me.
That's okay.
So you mean integrating the concept of happiness within the company culture, and letting the employees or making the employees sure that they know their purpose at work? That would be the way for the HR to work with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. But I really hope that more companies. Let me just have a little sip.
That's a good idea to have a sip. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. But I really hope more companies will tap into this concept and this topic, because I really believe and I agree with you that this is the future nowadays. So I really hope that your book will soon be translated to English so that I also get a chance to read it. And thank you very much for your time, Veronique. I will not take any more minutes of your Sunday today, but it was lovely to hear your opinion and to get to know a little bit more about your book. And yeah, I hope to read it soon, and I hope we will get to talk again sometime soon.
Yeah, I was happy to do it. Thank you so much for your time, your questions. I loved your questions. You really thought good about it. And
Thank you.
let me read your article when it's ready. I love to support you in that. Thank you.
I'll definitely send it to you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.